What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Instead of talking about players who are in the Overwatch League, I wanted to shift my attention over to players who are not. Let's be very honest for a second. There are a lot of players who deserve to be in the Overwatch League who are not for various reasons, whether it's because they'd rather be a full-time streamer, they have no interest in being a pro, or because teams just don't realize how talented they are and just don't want to give them a shot. That's why I wanted to tell you guys 5 players who I wish were in the Overwatch League, and I'm sure since this list is so small, there will be a lot of really good players that I leave out, so make sure to tell me which players you wish were in the Overwatch League as well. Now then, with introductions out of the way, let's get things started. So kicking off my list, I have Aimbot Calvin, and I'm sure a lot of you saw this one coming. He's a household name. He's one of the most popular Overwatch streamers out there on Twitch, and for good reason. The guy is insanely good at the game, and he has some of the best aim I've ever seen. He is one of the most entertaining McCree and Widowmaker players out there, and there aren't many people I'd rather watch. Can you imagine if this guy was playing on LAN? He'd be one of the most entertaining players to watch in the league. I guarantee you he'd be able to contest the likes of Pine and Carpe. It's a shame that Calvin doesn't want to be a pro player. I mean, he doesn't really need to. I can understand why he wouldn't want to. He makes plenty of money being a full-time streamer, and plus he doesn't have to deal with the stressfulness of playing Overwatch for like 10 to 12 hours a day, and it's not even for fun. He's just scrimming, and it's hard practice. I highly doubt this will ever happen, but maybe one day he'll give the Overwatch League a shot and become a pro player. But until that day comes, or if it ever comes for that matter, Aimbot Calvin will have a spot on my list. Up next on my list, I have Emong, and kind of like with Calvin, I'm sure this pick surprises nobody. Emong is a pretty popular Twitch streamer as well. He's a really good off-tank player, and honestly, I don't think he'd have much of an issue transitioning into the Overwatch League and being a solid player, because he used to be a pro player, right? He used to be on Selfless and he played alongside Defran, and he was pretty darn good at the game, and I think he still is. He still has what it takes if you ask me. Obviously, we know Emong mostly as a really good D.Va player, but he's shown an ability to play pretty well on Zarya and Roadhog too. One reason in particular that I think Emong would make for a great player and teammate in the Overwatch League is because of the overwhelming positivity he has. Any of you who are a fan of Emong and watch his streams a lot can agree with me when I say that it takes a lot to tilt this guy, and he usually stays positive through just about anything. Even when he's in a really toxic environment in a game, he's like, it's alright, on to the next one guys, we're gonna get through this and we're gonna start to win some games. There's just something about him. He has such a great attitude towards playing the game, and I feel like a lot of people would love to have such positivity surrounding them. And to add on to all of that, he's a pretty good communicator, and I think he could make for a decent leader as well on just about any Overwatch League team out there. And that's all I really have to say about Emong. I like the guy a lot, both as a person and a player, and one day I hope that he reconsiders and decides to go pro once again. Up next at number 3, I have Logix, and I'm sure that any of you who have been a longtime follower of my channel knew this one was coming, because I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he deserves to still be in the Overwatch League. I don't think it's fair that the Florida Mayhem booted him off, and now he's just stuck on the NYXL2 Academy team in Contenders. I personally thought that Logix was one of the more underrated players in Overwatch League Season 1, and no, I'm not saying he's top tier talent or anything like that, but he's not a bad player. And come on, the Florida Mayhem kept Tavik over him. Are you serious? I know that Tavik used to be a really good OG player back in the day, one of the best in the world, but he's just not that anymore. He has fallen off, and Logix is a way better player if you ask me. Logix is a solid hit scan player, especially when he's playing either Tracer or Widowmaker. I think those are his 2 signature heroes, and he shines on them quite often. I thought that he was one of the bright spots on the Florida Mayhem alongside Saya player. And honestly, it really is a shame that no Overwatch League team picked him up. It would have been cool if he was at least a bench player, even if he didn't get much playtime at all. I think that he deserves to be on an Overwatch League roster at the very least, don't you? I mean, Contenders I feel like just isn't for him. He's better than that. It's honestly a shame that this man is not in the league anymore, and there's a good chance he'll never make it back, which just sucks. The guy is so good at the game. He proved that he's worthy of being an Overwatch League caliber player during Season 1, and now there's a good chance he'll be stuck in Contenders for the rest of his career. Oh well, let's move on to the next spot. At number 4, I have Panker, and I know that he's technically in the Overwatch League, but I consider him still to be a contenders player since he's only on a 2-way contract, meaning that he can only play in the Overwatch League alongside the LA Gladiators in like 1 or 2 games each stage, so I consider him more of a tier 2 player still, even though he clearly deserves to be in the Overwatch League full time. Just look up highlights of this guy and you'll see what I mean. He is an absolutely nutty Winston player and overall main tank in general. I'm honestly scratching my head as to why the Gladiators did not sign Panker to a full-time deal. It would just make so much more sense to do that. You'd have some good depth at the main tank role. Obviously, we know that Roar is really good. He has limitless potential. He comes from Kongdu Panthera. He's going to be their guy, but wouldn't it be good to have a nice backup in Panker? He also has a lot of potential, and God forbid Roar goes down with a sickness of some sort, or maybe he gets injured. You'll have a really solid backup in Panker to play a lot of games down the stretch for you. Unfortunately, though, that's not how things went, and instead Panker's just on this dumb 2-way contract, and he's going to be stuck in contenders for the second year in a row, just wasting his talents, rotting there, when he's clearly an Overwatch League caliber player. Hopefully someday in the future, Panker gets the justice he deserves and makes it into the league. And finally, last but certainly not least, at the number 5 position is Mangachu, aka the Flex DPS God. Mangachu is a very rare and unique talent, and I say that because he is one of the most flexible players I have ever seen. He can play almost any DPS hero at a pretty high level, and he can flex onto heroes such as D.Va and Wrecking Ball if needed. It really does surprise me that no team was interested in picking up the likes of Mangachu. As I just mentioned before, he is quite the flexible player who can play just about anything you need. It really doesn't matter whether you want him to play off tank or DPS, and the same can be said about the meta and the team comp. The guy will be a key contributor regardless of what he's doing. And no, I don't think that Mangachu is a starting lineup caliber player or anything like that, but I definitely think he deserves to be in the rotation coming off of the bench, where he gets some playtime every once in a while because he's just that good at the game and he could be very useful in a lot of different scenarios. That's really all I have to say about Mangachu, and with that being said, there you have it, guys. Those are 5 players who I wish were in the Overwatch League. And now I think I'm just about ready to wrap things up, ladies and gentlemen. So if you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the like button. If you're new around here, consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon so you don't miss when the next video goes up. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, feel free to let me know which players you wish were in the Overwatch League down in the comment section. And until next time, this is ATP signing out. Bye.